Assalamu alaikum students. In the previous lecture we started talking about interpersonal attractions and today we'll be elaborating on the same topic. इससे पहले पिछला lecture review कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद आगे चलेंगे. As far as interpersonal attraction is concerned, in the previous lecture we talked about what are the characteristics of others which are important in interpersonal attractions and making one person attractive in the eyes of other people. तो सबसे पहले हमने ये जिक्र किया कि फिजिकल अट्रैक्टिवनेस इज द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्टर इन मेकिंग अ पर्सन अट्रैक्टिव इन द आईज ऑफ अदर पीपल. एंड द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज अट्रैक्टिव. वन थिंग इज दैट इट कुड बी लार्जली डिटर्मिन्ड बाय अ कल्चर, क्योंकि कल्चरल फैक्टर्स भी सम टाइम डिटर्मिन करते हैं कि अट्रैक्टिवनेस है क्या. और मे बी इट्स पॉसिबल दैट इन एवरी कल्चर द अट्रैक्टिवनेस स्टैंडर्ड्स आर डिफरेंट. लेकिन इट हैज़ बीन जनरली एग्रीड दैट people should have a proportional face, यानी कोई चीज़ जो है वो एक्सट्रीम पे ना हो, जैसे बहुत लंबी नाक, बहुत छोटी नाक वगैरह. सो अट्रैक्टिवनेस जो है वो जनरली इज नोन एज प्रोपोर्शननेस एंड एवरेज फेस इन अ कल्चर. एंड देन वी आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट व्हाट आर द स्टीरियोटाइप्स दैट हैज़ बीन फाउंड एज फार एज अट्रैक्टिवनेस, स्पेशली फिजिकल अट्रैक्टिवनेस इज कंसर्न्ड. एंड देन वी डिस्कस्ड that several kinds of job outcomes are related with attractiveness stereotype. ये देखा गया है कि generally those men who are more attractive, they get higher salary when they start a job. And as compared to that, women although do not get a higher starting salary when they start a job, but their promotion is largely determined by that. किस तरह से कि they get on average higher salary than less attractive women. और इसके अलावा ये भी देखा गया है कि people who are obese, especially men, they get a lower salary as compared to those people who are smart या फिर जिनकी weight और height का जो ratio है वो appropriate होता है. So it has been seen that physical attractiveness plays a dominant role in many factors of life, in many facets of life. And it is not only restricted to adult people and their job consequences, job outcomes, but it is also extended to other people. For example, जो बच्चे attractive होते हैं उनको भी लोग समझते हैं कि they are very likable, they will be pleasant children, और उनकी शक्ल देख के जो है वो उनके बारे में अंदाज़ा लगाया जा सकता है. They are very smart, maybe they are more intelligent, etc. So we saw in the previous lecture that attractiveness is a very important factor in estimating about other characteristics of a person also. And from this we could refer to implicit personality theory, that we believe that traits actually go together. If someone is demonstrating and having a one positive trait, and especially a positive central trait, cardinal trait like attractiveness, तो एक फिजिकल डायमेंशन है, लेकिन एज फार एज ट्रेट्स आर कंसर्न्ड उसमें भी इम्प्लिसिट थ्योरी ये कहती है कि इफ़ यू हैव वन कार्डिनल ट्रेट देन यूजुअली पीपल एसोसिएट मोर पॉजिटिव ट्रेट्स विद योर पर्सनैलिटी. एंड सिमिलर इज द केस विद अट्रैक्टिवनेस. इफ यू आर अट्रैक्टिव, पीपल थिंक दैट यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल इन योर करियर, you will be more intelligent, you are more sociable, more likable, more presentable, and you would have demonstrated other positive qualities also. And then we talked about whether it is really a stereotype or physically attractive people really demonstrate those positive traits. And studies were conducted by Feingold which showed that it has nothing to do with attractiveness. यानी ये लाजमी नहीं है कि जो attractive लोग हैं they shall really be exhibiting more positive traits, and they are actually not different from less attractive people as far as positive dimensions of personality are concerned. So this was the physical characteristic which is very important in making a person attractive. And then we talked about other dimensions of attractiveness, and one of them was similarity. Similarity can be on a number of dimensions. For example, similarity in demographic characteristics, similarity in attitudes, and similarity in physical attractiveness again. Newcomb showed in one study that apart from physical attractiveness, he showed that if people are similar to demographic characteristics, then it plays also an important role in making them attracted to each other. Or he said that it could serve as a magnetic force, and he also showed that attitude similarity is very important, और उसमें हमने बाकी और studies का भी जिक्र किया था. As far as physical attractiveness is concerned, people generally think that those couples who are similar in physical attractiveness, they would be having a more appropriate and happy relationship. Or sometimes it is true because it is working on an exchange model, that you are exchanging something beauty to beauty. And then we also talked about other desirable personal attributes like warmth and competence of a person, and they also play a dominant role in interpersonal attractions. Then finally we talked whether social interaction could become a problem sometime, and the answer was yes, it could become a problem for those people who have social anxiety. And social anxiety is that they are afraid that if they approach to somebody, they will be rejected. So the fear of rejection is very important for them, and sometimes they think that they may be accepted initially, but later they will be criticized for their negative traits. That's what they believe they are having. So as a result, they become lonely, and this social isolation takes them to loneliness. And we also talked in the previous lecture that these people who are lonely and who are socially isolated, they actually are deficient in social skills which are required for social interactions. तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि अगर आप social skills आपके अंदर कम हैं, तो it could be a contributing factor to make you lonely on the basis that you will be interacting less with people. तो आज हम इसके आगे चलते हैं कि फिर अगर loneliness is the result of social isolation and it is believed that people who are deficient in social skills, तो फिर क्या करना चाहिए? This is a part of our applied social psychology lab. So what are the social skills that are required in interpersonal relationships? There are certain things required in a social relationship, और उनका ना होना ही social skills deficiency कहलाता है. तो अब ये देखते हैं कि कौन कौन सी चीज़ें हैं जो चाहिए होती हैं social relationship में. Number one is amount of personal attention given to one's partner in interaction. इसका मतलब ये है कि when you are talking to someone in a social setting, so it's very important that you are attentive to that person, and it should be visible from your non-verbal gestures as well as how you are responding to that person. और ये बड़ा आसानी से पता चल जाता है दूसरे शख्स को whether you are responding to that person or not, whether you are with that person in conversation or you are lost, you are thinking about something else. So lonely people जो हैं sometimes they are engrossed in their own feeling and they may not be paying proper attention to the communicator, and it is a very important factor कि जब आप किसी के साथ communication करते हैं तो दोनों लोग जो हैं वो एक equal status पे बात कर रहे हैं and they are paying attention to each other. The second important thing is that ability to recognize and conform to social norms is very important. और social norms जो हैं, as you are well aware that they are culturally determined also. तो आपके जो कल्चर में जो भी सोशल नॉर्म्स हैं उनके मुताबिक चलना पड़ता है. आपने देखा होगा कि सम टाइम यू कंप्लेन कि आप पहली दफ़ा किसी शख्स से मिले हैं और वो आपकी बड़ी ज़ाती बातें पूछने लग पड़ा है. और एक बात और भी सोशल नॉर्म है कि ज़ाती बातें ना पूछने के अलावा भी ये भी नॉर्म होता है कि बहरहाल कुछ ना कुछ एक दूसरे के साथ इंटरेस्ट शेयर किए जाएं. आप किसी के साथ पहली दफ़ा पूछते हैं, उसके मिलते हैं, तो आप उसके इंटरेस्ट के बारे में पूछते हैं, आप अपने इंटरेस्ट के बारे में कुछ कहते हैं. सो यू डिस्क्लोज योर सेल्फ टू सम एक्सटेंट. अब ये सम एक्सटेंट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि ये नहीं है कि आप बिल्कुल ज़ाती बातें पूछनी शुरू कर दें. मुझे याद है एक दफ़ा मेरी एक कॉलीग थी, एक ड्यूरिंग PhD, and somebody came and somebody asked her, and remember she was meeting her for the first time, and she came to meet us in our office, and she said, that lady who came to meet us, she said कि भाई आप क्या करती हैं, सबसे पूछा, और उस कॉलीग के बारे में पता चला कि शी इज़ हैविंग डिवोर्स फ्रॉम हर हस्बैंड, और डिवोर्स को भी कुछ अर्सा बल्कि हो चुका था। तो जब उसको पता चला तो वो फिर पूछने लग पड़ी कि डिवोर्स क्यों हुई, एंड देन शी सेड कि ओह इट मस्ट बी वेरी ट्रॉमेटिक फॉर यू, और डिवोर्स तो नहीं होनी चाहिए, तो आपने सोचा नहीं कि इसको रोकें। एंड देन शी आस्क्ड वेरी पर्सनल क्वेश्चंस, एंड माय कलीग वाज रियली एम्बैरेस्ड, and afterwards she said that I was really embarrassed. I mean, why she was asking me these very close and intimate questions, which maybe could be asked later if intimate relationship exists, and people could become friends after that. So social norms का हमें पता होना चाहिए, कितनी बात करनी है, so that it is not embarrassing for the other person. And then another factor is regulating one's mood prior to commencing social interaction. So you should have a neutral mood for having interaction with another person. Maybe before conversation, before going to a meeting, कोई social gathering, आपका positive और negative mood हो सकता है. People could be angry on something, people could be sad on something, या they are very elated. लेकिन लोगों के साथ conversation में, बातचीत में हमें एक neutral mood maintain रखना होता है. And then we will be talking now about what is the training involved in social skills. फिर क्या-क्या training दी जाती है जिससे लोगों को फ़ायदा हासिल होता है, and they learn कि this kind of behavior is not appropriate while another behavior is appropriate, so why not adopt that? So training includes observation. आप observe करते हैं लोगों को, कुछ आपके लिए वो role play करते हैं, फिर आप उनको observe करते हैं कि कैसे एक अच्छा बिहेवियर अपनाया जा सकता है सोशल इंटरेक्शन में. मॉडलिंग, रोल प्लेइंग, यू डू योर सेल्फ आल्सो सम रोल प्ले आप करते हैं कि एक अच्छी कन्वर्सेशन कैसे मेंटेन करनी है. ऑब्जर्विंग वंस ओन इंटरेक्शन ऑन वीडियो टेप, आपका कोई रियल इंटरेक्शन होता है, बाद में आप वीडियो टेप पे देखते हैं कि कौन कौन से उसमें फ्लॉज थे. एंड देन स्पीकिंग ऑन फोन फ्रीक्वेंटली, कि फ़ोन पे भी कैसे आपने कम्युनिकेशन करनी है. गिविंग compliments to other people, and this is very important कि sometime we are talking to someone और वो हम कहते हैं कि हमें क्या ज़रूरत है किसी की तारीफ़ करने की, but this is a very important factor in making oneself attractive and likable to other person, क्योंकि उससे उसको एक तो दूसरे बंदे को feedback मिलती है. It's a kind of principle of reinforcement कि फिर उससे बात भी आगे चलती है और कुछ friendly terms पैदा होती हैं. And then actively listening is very important. Sometime you would have noticed कि someone is talking to you, apparently listening to you, लेकिन आपको लगता है कि नहीं ये इसका दिमाग यहाँ नहीं है, ये मेरी बात बिल्कुल नहीं सुन रहा, and you get annoyed, लेकिन आप कहते कुछ नहीं है. So it is very important that you stay with that person. इसको हम counseling में कहते होते हैं active listening. Active listening mean कि you are with that person as far as verbal, non-verbal communication, gestures, talking is concerned, and you are understanding the content of the other person's communication. आपको content भी पता चल रहा है, ये नहीं है कि आपको अंदाज़ा नहीं हो रहा कि what that person is talking about. And research has indicated that participation in this kind of training shows improvement in social skills and increased level of social satisfaction. And one of the research was conducted by Irwin in 1994. So research has shown positive effects of these kind of trainings. एक अब छोटी सी एक्टिविटी करते हैं, ये आपको मैं स्लाइड दिखाती हूँ जिसमें कुछ ट्रेट्स मेंशन किए हुए हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल आउटगोइंग, सॉफ्ट हार्टेड, ऑर्गेनाइज्ड, क्रिएटिव, इंडिपेंडेंट, कॉन्शियंटियस, क्वाइट, टफ माइंडेड, एफिशिएंट, काम, प्रैक्टिकल, एडवेंचरस, ट्रस्टिंग, पैसिव, जेनरस. हो सकता है कि ये अब स्लाइड गुजर जाए तो आपको इतने सारे याद ना रहें, लेकिन आप अंदाजे से बाद में लिख लीजिएगा, क्योंकि इसी वक्त ये एक्टिविटी शायद करना आपके लिए पॉसिबल ना हो. और आपने करना क्या है कि बाद में आपको नज़र आ रहा है 3 कॉलम बने हुए हैं. एक कॉलम में है सेल्फ, द अदर इज़ क्लोज फ्रेंड, एंड देन देर इज़ नॉन फ्रेंड और एक्वेंटेंस. तो आपने ये करना है कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू विल टिक मार्क ऑल द ट्रेड्स दैट यू थिंक यू आर पोजेसिंग दैम. जो भी ट्रेड्स आप में हैं उनको टिक लगा देनी है उनके सामने, सेल्फ वाले खाने में. उसके बाद आपने थिंक अबाउट सम वेरी क्लोज फ्रेंड, इनफैक्ट आपके क्लोजेस्ट फ्रेंड जो है उसके बारे में सोचें, एंड देन टेक दोज ट्रेट्स विच यू थिंक योर फ्रेंड पोजेस, और उसके बाद थिंक अबाउट समवन whom you know quite well, लेकिन you think that person is not likely to be your friend. वो बाद में भी नहीं, उसके साथ कोई फ्रेंडशिप का चांस नहीं है, but you know that person quite well. तो फिर आपने उसके traits टिक करने हैं, and then you count the number of traits you are sharing with your close friends and with your non-friend. और उसके बाद फिर आप देखिए कि what do you think, what is the importance of similarity as far as traits are concerned. क्या सिमिलैरिटी आप में और आपके क्लोज फ्रेंड में ज़्यादा है या नॉन फ्रेंड में और आप में ज़्यादा है. तो ये एक्टिविटी ज़रूर कीजिएगा घर पर. नाउ स्टार्ट टुडेज लेक्चर. ये जो अभी एक्टिविटीज़ थी उनका ताल्लुक भी बहरहाल करंट लेक्चर के साथ है, लेकिन हमने पिछली दफ़ा सिमिलैरिटी का जिक्र किया था और हमने सोशल आइसोलेशन का जिक्र किया था, तो वो उनके साथ बहरहाल ज़्यादा कनेक्टेड हैं. So today we are talking about intimate relationships. The question is, what is intimacy? Intimacy refers to sharing that which is inmost with others. ये inmost क्या है? Inmost, whatever is inside you, you are sharing, you are self-disclosing, you are sharing with somebody whom you think is intimate to you. And this word has been taken from a Latin word intimus, which means inner or inmost. Arthur Aron and Elaine Aron in 1997 contend that in intimate relationships we psychologically expand our self-concept by acting as if all or some aspects of our partner are part of our own self. You remember William James talk about self and its two dimensions, self-awareness and other dimension, the active agent as self. तो वो क्या बनती हैं? Self as the subjective self and self as the objective self. As far as objective self is concerned, this is also referring to our self concept. और आपको पता है कि जो schemas हैं, they are ingredients of our self concept. So what happen in intimate relationships that we share some of the schemas with the other person whom we are very intimately. तो हमारे जिसके साथ भी रिलेशनशिप होता है, हमारा सेल्फ कॉन्सेप्ट और उसका सेल्फ कॉन्सेप्ट जो है दे समहाउ गेट मिक्स्ड अप, या उसमें डिस्टिंक्शन जो है वो दैट गेट ब्लर्ड. इसीलिए परहैप्स 100 years before Christ, Cicero, who was a Roman spokesman and statesman, he said a friend is as it were a second self. तो जो फ्रेंड होता है, क्लोज फ्रेंड, वो आपकी अपनी ही तरह ही होता है. This is a diagram which you are seeing now, and this is an illustration of self-other inclusion. कि जो दूसरा intimate जिसके साथ relationship है, कैसे वो आपके साथ relate हो जाता है. आप left side पे सबसे ऊपर देख रहे हैं, self and other are quite separate, they are mutually exclusive. और उसके बाद जो diagrams देख रहे हैं, they are showing different degrees of self and other relatedness. और इसमें ये भी चीज़ important है to understand that these are so much blurred that distinction sometime between you and your intimate relationships is so blurred that whenever you think about yourself and you have memories about yourself, तो आपको कुछ खसाइस जो हैं वो दूसरे important शख्स के भी साथ ही याद आ जाते हैं. So your memories are mixed up also. और आपको ये नज़र आ रहा है इस डायग्राम में कि किस तरह से जो है वो एक दूसरे के साथ जो है वो सेल्फ और अदर का रिलेशनशिप जो है वो स्ट्रॉन्ग होता जाता है, उसकी इंटेंसिटी जो है वो स्ट्रॉन्ग होती जाती है. और इसी वजह से ये होता है कि हम जब अपनी किसी चीज़ के बारे में सोचते हैं तो वी आल्सो रिमेंबर द ट्रेट्स ऑफ अदर पर्सन. एंड इट आल्सो हैपन्स दैट वट एवर वी आर थिंकिंग अबाउट आवर सेल्फ and how we respond to ourselves, we also respond and think about the other person in the same way as we responding to ourselves. And as I said before, ये जितना एक दूसरे के करीब आते जा रहे हैं, they show the degree and strength of inclusion between self and other person. This intimacy can be manifested in number of ways, and research has found a number of areas which will determine के सेल्फ और इंटीमेट अदर का रिलेशनशिप जो है वो कितना इंटीमेट हो गया है या कितना ऑल इंक्लूसिव हो गया हुआ है. सो दीज आर द some areas which I would like to discuss, which will tell that how intimacy is manifested in different areas. ये कौन कौन से areas हैं? Self schemas, the attribution process, resource allocation, communal versus exchange relationships, transactive memory. अब इनके बारे में बात करते हैं. So first of all is self schemas. As the intimacy bonds deepen between two people, they begin to incorporate some of the others' self schemas into their own self concept. इसके बारे में अभी बात हुई है कि हमारे जो दूसरे शख्स के self schemas हैं, they become a part of our self concept also, and our schemas become a part of other person's self concept. And the cognitive blurring of self-other distinction occurs, and then people need less time to recognize self-descriptive traits. इसकी वजह ये होती है कि they easily remember those self-descriptive traits which are also shared by the intimate ones. अब मैं आपको इसकी मिसाल देती हूँ. For example, अगर आप समझते हैं कि you have 3 very strong self schemas. One is being athletic, industrious, and hardworking, and your friend think that she has 3 self schemas which are very important to herself, is industrious, hardworking, and soft-hearted. तो जो industrious और hardworking हैं, they are shared by both of you. So it will be more easy for you, for both of you, to remember these qualities or these traits which you think are shared by you and your intimate one. Because the reason is because you think about them more often, because they are a part of another person's self schemas, जो कि आपकी self का part बन चुका है, आपके self concept का part बन चुका है. And the other thing is the attribution process. Contrary to actor-observer effect, the attributions for the loved one are similar to those we would have for our actions. अब generally हम ये करते हैं कि जब हम किसी और के बारे में अंदाज़ा लगाते हैं कि why that person would have done so and so act, तो we are acting as observer, और हम usually अगर किसी गलती है तो हम internal attribution use करते हैं. तो हम कहते हैं कि उसकी अपना कसूर होगा, और अगर हमारी गलती होती है तो we usually hold responsible the situational factors. So this kind of a actor-observer bias does not exist for our intimate ones. जिस तरह से हम अपने बारे में अंदाज़ा लगाते हैं कि हमने ये काम क्यों किया, उसी तरीके से we attribute the behavior of our intimate one in the same way as we do it for ourselves, because the distinction between us and significant others is blurred. The next point is resource allocation. Because we are sharing each other's self-concept, so we are sharing each other's resources also. और इसका हमें फ़ायदा ये होता है कि when we are having intimate relationships, because we are sharing other people's resources, so we become more strong, because we have to spend less energy in doing something. जिस तरह से ये मिसाल समझ लें कि अगर आप किसी बड़े क्लोज फ्रेंड के साथ खाना खा रहे हैं तो आप उसकी प्लेट में से भी खाना शुरू कर देते हैं, because it doesn't matter कि वो उसको बुरा लगेगा, and you can't do that with a stranger. The next point is communal versus exchange relationships. In most of our everyday relationships, we operate on the principle of exchange. आपको याद है पिछले एक लेक्चर में हमने इसका जिक्र किया था कि जो interpersonal relationships हैं, they are according to one theory based on principle of exchange, reward and cost. लेकिन in intimate relationships, we do not manage relationships as we are managing our bank account. It is much more than that. So it is a communal relationship instead of exchange relationship. And in the communal relationships, we organize things according to the principle that people are to be given what they need. जिनके साथ हम attach होते हैं, हम उनको वो कुछ देना चाहते हैं, whatever they require, and we do not need the same amount of exchange in response to our affection toward them. The next point is transactive memory. People in intimate relationships have a shared memory style for encoding, storing, and retrieving information that is greater than either of their individual memories. Because we share memories, that is why we share our knowledge with our significant other. इसको एक मिसाल से समझिए कि अगर एक हस्बैंड की मेमोरी में कुछ डेटा स्टोर है, कुछ नॉलेज स्टोर है कि घर में जो है वो उसने जो इम्पोर्टेंट डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं वो कहाँ रखे हुए हैं और बिल्स वगैरह कहाँ रखे हुए हैं. इसके बरक्स इफ़ अ फीमेल हैज़ memory about all the organization of grocery items, तो वो दोनों जो हैं they will be building on each other's resources and they will be updating the other person on their share of knowledge, and then in that way they will be expanding their resources and their memories. तो उनका जो knowledge का जो है वो data वो ज़्यादा हो जाएगा because वो expand कर रहे हैं, they are taking share from each other's memory. अब यहाँ पे आपने नोट किया होगा कि मैंने जो मिसाल दी है मेल और फीमेल की, इट इज़ अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर सोशल रोल्स. और ये मैंने सोचा भी नहीं कि व्हाई आई शैल गिव एग्जाम्पल which should be according to the cultural social roles that men and women are expected to play in society. लेकिन ये ऑटोमेटिकली मेरे मुंह से निकल गई. सो दिस आल्सो शोज कि कैसे ये सोशल रोल्स जो हैं दे आर डीपली इनग्रेन्ड इन आवर मेमोरीज कि हम उसके बारे में बात करते हैं तो हम उसी रेफरेंस में बात करते हैं. ऑल्दो इट इज़ पॉसिबल दैट वुमेन वुड हैव टेकन केयर ऑफ इम्पॉर्टेंट डॉक्यूमेंट्स इन देयर हाउस होल्ड, इन देयर होम, लेकिन हम वही मिसालें देते हैं विच वी एक्सपेक्ट from women and men to do. Another important thing is that attachment is an adaptive response. When people are attached to each other, then perhaps it's a biological tendency in them that they are working on. And it is visible in childbirth after a few minutes of birth and then after a few days of birth. Human infants have an infant attachment response observable within minutes of birth. ये infant attachment जो response है, you can observe it within minutes of birth by two indicators. One is the rooting instinct, that is that कि बच्चा पैदा होते ही जो है she is ready to suck milk from her mother. And then the other one is the moro reflex, that is ability to grasp and hold. कि बच्चा गिरने लगता है तो वो फौरन मदर के दुपट्टे को, ड्रेस को, हाथ को ग्रैस्प करने की कोशिश करता है. सो दीज आर द टू थिंग्स विच शो कि ह्यूमन इन्फेंट और ह्यूमन के अलावा जो है वो मैमल्स के इन्फेंट्स भी दे आर हैविंग दिस इंस्टिंक्ट ऑफ अटैचमेंट फ्रॉम देयर बर्थ. एंड देन विद इन डेज यू कैन ऑब्जर्व दैट ह्यूमन जो चाइल्ड है, न्यू बॉर्न्स हैं, दे रिकॉग्नाइज एंड प्रिफर फेस, वॉइस एंड स्मेल ऑफ देयर मदर. या फिर अगर मदर नहीं है तो whoever is the caregiver, they recognize the smell and sight of that person. And also it has been observed that they spontaneously imitate their caretakers' facial expressions. Studies में ये पता चला है कि अगर आप एक बिल्कुल छोटे बच्चे को जो है, इन्फेंट को आप जुबान निकाल कर दिखाएं तो बच्चा भी आगे से जुबान निकालता है. सो आप मुंह खोलें तो वो मुंह खोलता है. सो दिस शोज आल्सो दैट हाउ जो चाइल्ड है, how child is attached and is having this attachment instinct after birth. As soon as the child is born, तो वो attachment जो है वो उसमें instinct जो है that is present, कि वो आपको imitate करने की कोशिश करता है, आपके साथ relate करने की कोशिश करता है, आपको hold करने की कोशिश करता है और आपकी तरफ देख के smile करने भी करता है बहुत छोटा बच्चा. अब ये देखा गया है कि it is not only found in mother, it is not only found in infants, balki this kind of relatedness and attachment also is produced in mother. And mothers produce oxytocin hormone which influences parenting behavior. ये जो oxytocin hormone है ये during labor और उसके बाद जब बच्चे को दूध पिलाती है माँ तो ये oxytocin release होता है. And it has been found that it is related with taking care of child, taking good care of child. यानी जिन माओं में ज़्यादा ऑक्सीटोसिन रिलीज होती है, दे आर कैपेबल टू टेक गुड केयर ऑफ देयर इन्फेंट्स एज कम्पेयर टू दोज मदर्स हु हैव लेस oxytocin production. And this research was shown and conducted by Mestri Perry in 2002. The initial work on parent and child attachment was conducted by British psychiatrist John Bowlby. In 1969, he was one of the first social scientists to systematically study the attachment process. And he worked with infants of human beings as well as of different species. And he proposed that attachment is part of many species' genetic heritage. And the purpose is that the younger ones are saved, protected, because they are very vulnerable and they are unable to protect themselves. So that is why it has been inherited in human beings and other mammals. And it has also been found that there are basically 3 standard responses which have been produced by infants of many species. अब ये कौन से standard responses हैं? One is protest, and this is the first reaction that has been shown from the infant. कि जब बच्चे की माँ या significant other इधर उधर हो जाएं, तो they protest by screaming and crying. They protest that they need food, they need to be fed, they need to be protected. And this is the first reaction, and it is followed by parental separation. And the second one is despair. जब ये कोशिश नाकाम होती है and nobody comes to take care of them, then they become silent in desperation. और जो दूसरी species हैं उनमें basically this is an indicator that they will not be attracted by now by any predator, क्योंकि आवाज़ पैदा होगी तो कोई बच्चे को जो है वो नुकसान पहुंचाने के लिए कोई और आएगा. The third factor is detachment. If infants are left unattended for long period, then they begin to behave independently, and this is the process of adjustment. कि अगर आप बहुत देर तक बच्चा रोएगा तो कितनी देर तक रोएगा? Then the child stops crying or starts working like कि वो खुद ठीक हो जाता है और अपने तौर पे एक adjustment का process जो है वो शुरू हो जाता है. So these are the 3 standard responses that has been seen in every culture by the young infant. So now we'll be talking about parent-child attachment. The strong emotional bond that develops between infants and their caregivers is known as attachment. And this has been shown that it is the cornerstone of all relationship in a child's life. और ये बाद में भी it plays a very dominant role in establishing adult relationships also. जब वो बच्चा बड़ा हो जाता है तो उसके जो adult relationships हैं, they are also determined by this attachment with the early attachment with parents. Attachment means that an infant responds positively to specific others, feels better when they are close, and seeks them out when frightened. So attachment का मतलब एक तो positive reaction है और the other one is protection. कि जब कभी feel होता है the child is threatened, frightened, so then they seek the attention of caregiver. Now we'll be talking about different attachment styles and their relationship with adult relationships. और जो later adult relationship है उसका क्या ताल्लुक है different attachment styles के साथ. Our biological heritage propel us toward our caregiver. हमने ये देखा है कि it is a adaptive response which is present at birth, कि हम attachment चाहते हैं अपने caregiver के साथ, सबसे पहले mother के साथ. लेकिन बावजूद इसके कि it is having a biological component in that, the attachment of significant other, our caregiver, will determine the bond of that attachment, and the strength of that attachment will be determined by the response of your caregiver, or it can be explained by the principle of reinforcement. कि तभी जो है ये bond जो है वो strong होगा अगर जो response है caregiver का वो भी positive है या फिर negative भी हो सकता है. Mary Ainsworth was a colleague of associate of Bowlby in 1978 identified 2 major attachment styles. One is secure and the other is insecure. In secure attachment style, children think that they are worthy of others' love and also that people can be trusted. So they develop trust in people and they develop their own self-esteem. And this is very much dependent on the love that has been given to them by their parents. Nurturing and those kind of parents who take care of the needs of child will be producing secure children. As compared to that, insecure children, जो generally है वो देखा गया है कि those children who are insecure, उनके जो parents थे, they were not very attentive to the needs of the child. So the ultimate result was insecure children. So Mary identifies 2 kind of attachment styles. One is secure and the other is insecure. As infants interact with their parents, they develop either optimistic or pessimistic beliefs about human relationships, and that was pointed out by Moss et al. In 2004. अब इसी डायरेक्शन में जो मैरी की थ्योरी थी, उसी डायरेक्शन में एक और रिसर्च है जो जिसका मैंने अभी जिक्र किया कि जैसा इंटरेक्शन पेरेंट्स के साथ होगा, उसके जवाब में जो बच्चे हैं, they will develop either optimistic or pessimistic style, or optimistic will be having like positive attitude toward people and pessimistic having negative attitude toward people. It has been seen that through childhood, insecurely attached children exhibit less social competence and lower levels of self-esteem and self-concept complexity. ये भी देखा गया है कि जो बच्चे जो हैं वो insecure होते हैं, they are less socially competent and they are low in their self-esteem also, and this very much depends on the relationship between child and parents. And it has also been seen that they exhibit vacillating pattern of approach avoidance, yani they have this tendency of conflict in social relationships that sometime they approach others and on the other time they start avoiding other people. So what happens when they show this kind of behavior, approach and avoidance? Because they are scared that maybe when they are avoiding people, they are scared that their social overtures will not be responded properly and they will be not reciprocated in the same way as they are wishing. So the result of that is that it invites social rejection from the people with whom they are communicating, and that has a problem because that confirms child's insecurity and distrust in people. When the child gets negative response from other people, and that negative response is sometimes facilitated by the child's negative attitude toward them. So when the child is having rejection from other people, it increases insecurity and trust in people. It increases distrust in people. And it has been also found that although it is a universal feature, attachment is a universal feature, and that has been found in every culture, that people behave according to their attachment styles with their parents. But it has also been found that the nature of attachment styles is shaped by culture. अब किस तरह से है कि जो studies which have been conducted in collectivistic and individualistic cultures, they have shown different results. And in that sense कि किस तरह से different results कैसे आए हैं कि जो people who are in collectivistic cultures, they have shown different kind of attachment styles as compared to those in individualistic cultures. One study which was conducted by Cole in 1992, it showed that Japanese versus American and German children were different in their attachment styles. Or children who were belonging to American and German cultures, they were likely to develop an insecure attachment style. अब इसकी क्या वजह है कि those children who are born in individualistic culture, they generally are known to develop more insecure attachments. The difference could be traced in the way people raise their offsprings. जिस तरीके से हम बच्चे की परवरिश करते हैं, that determines insecure and secure attachment styles. आपको ये शायद पता होगा कि हमारा जो है वो इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक कल्चर्स का और कलेक्टिविस्टिक कल्चर्स का बच्चों को परवान चढ़ाने का तरीका भी डिफरेंट है, बिकॉज इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक कल्चर स्ट्रेस ऑन डेवलपिंग इंडिपेंडेंस एंड इंडिविजुअलिटी. इसीलिए फ्रॉम द वेरी चाइल्डहुड दे लीव चाइल्ड टू वर्क थिंग्स ऑन हर ओन, और यूजुअली दे प्रेफर नॉट पिकिंग अप द चाइल्ड व्हेन द चाइल्ड इज क्राइंग, और यूजुअली वो शुरू से ही बच्चों को बहुत छोटी एज से अलग कमरों में, अलग कॉट में जो है वो सुलाना शुरू कर देते हैं. एज कम्पेयर टू दैट इन कलेक्टिविस्टिक कल्चर्स पीपल आर मोर रेस्पॉन्सिव टूवर्ड अ चाइल्ड व्हेन द चाइल्ड इज क्राइंग, और वो उसको टॉयज, जो कि आमतौर पे कलेक्टिविस्टिक कल्चर्स में टॉयज देकर भी बहलाते हैं हम, लेकिन ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर दफ़ा टॉय दे के बहलाएं. मदर्स हैव अ स्ट्रॉन्ग टेंडेंसी टू पिक देम अप, और शायद ये बच्चे की नीड भी होती है. बट वी कैन नॉट से दैट always insecure children will be produced in individualistic cultures, क्योंकि इसके against भी कुछ theories हैं which tell that if you make child very much dependent, as it could be possible in collectivistic cultures, then it could lead to another kind of psychopathology in children. They may become very dependent on their parents and they may not be able to decide on themselves when they are adult. Many theorists believe that infant attachment to caregivers provide a working model for adult relationships. Whatever way they have been raised as they were child and whatever was the attachment style between parent and child, that will determine the adult relationships. अब ये अडल्ट रिलेशनशिप्स जो हैं वो कहा जाता है कि उनमें और जो चाइल्ड रिलेशनशिप्स हैं उनमें कंटिन्यूटी पाई जाती है. सो देयर इज सम एविडेंस फॉर कंटिन्यूटी. जिस तरह का अटैचमेंट स्टाइल बचपन में डेवलप हुआ होगा उसी तरीके से आप बड़े होकर एडल्ट्स के साथ आप इंटरेक्ट करेंगे और वैसे ही अटैचमेंट आप उनके साथ फील करेंगे. ऑल्दो देयर इज अ कंटिन्यूटी बिटवीन childhood attachment styles and adult attachment styles may change if a person has significant attachment related events, for example divorce and abuse. अब ये भी ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो भी अटैचमेंट स्टाइल आपका बचपन में बन गया हो उसमें बिल्कुल भी चेंज ना आ सके. दिस कुड चेंज on different circumstances in your life. For example, if some adult would have divorced, so maybe that person would have a very secure attachment style with parents as a child, लेकिन अब जो है that person will be feeling insecure because of different kind of atmosphere and situation in his or her life. And then there is an additional discovery that attachment styles are being determined by two basic attitudes. And what are these attitudes? One is the extent to which one's self-esteem is positive or negative. अब ये भी डिपेंड करता है कि आपकी सेल्फ esteem जो है वो पॉजिटिव है या नेगेटिव है. You have high self-esteem or you have low self-esteem. And the other one is the extent to which one perceives others trustworthy. आप कितना ज़्यादा दूसरों पर भरोसा करते हैं. So the two dimensions which we earlier discussed was secure and insecure. And now another two dimensions now we are discussing are self-esteem and trustworthiness. तो अब ये चार हो गई. तो अब इनके बारे में बात करते हैं. So this new conception of attachment yields four kinds of attachment style, and expectation about social relationship is also determined by these four attachment styles. अब ये क्या हैं इनके बारे में देखते हैं कि ये इनसे क्या मुराद है. Secure attachment style. It is characterized by trust, a lack of concern with being abandoned, and a feeling of being valued and well liked. So all positive traits are there. People who have a secure attachment style, they think they are liked by others, they are valued by others, and because of that their self-esteem develops and they have a higher self-esteem, positive self-esteem. And as a consequence of that they also learn to trust other people. As compared to that, preoccupied attachment style is characterized by trust. अब इसमें they believe in people that they will not leave them alone, वो trustworthy होंगे, but at the same time it is combined with a feeling of being unworthy of others' love and a fear of abandonment. They think they are not capable of being loved. And now look at the third attachment style. It is dismissing avoidant type. It is characterized by low trust and avoidance of intimacy combined with high self-esteem and compulsive self-reliance. That person would be very self-reliant because of his high self-esteem, but he will be avoiding other people because that person will think that other people are not trustworthy. The fourth attachment style is fearful avoidant. It is characterized by low trust and avoidance of intimacy, combined with a feeling of being unworthy of others' love and a fear of rejection. So that person would have both low self-esteem and mistrust in people, that people cannot be trusted, वो आपको reject कर सकते हैं, and at the same time the person thinks that he or she is not capable of being loved. अब ये diagram आपको दिखा रही हूँ मैं, जिसमें 4 attachment styles are mentioned and described: secure, fearful avoidant, dismissing avoidant and preoccupied. And you will see that they are displayed in dotted lines. और उसके अलावा आपको जो straight lines नज़र आ रही हैं, they are showing the behavior of the person. And you can see that the person who is having a secure attachment style, that person will be low in anxiety, and that person also will be having low avoidance because that person will have high interpersonal trust on people. As compared to that, that person who is preoccupied, that person is low in avoidance, but that person is high in anxiety because of low self-esteem. It has generally been known that the person who has preoccupied attachment style, that person desperately seeks intimate relationships and friendship, and that person is obsessed with friends, but that person is having that idea that he or she may be rejected when he make any social overture to another person. और इसी तरह आपको dismissing avoidant भी नजर आ रहा है कि that person is low in anxiety but that person is high in avoidance. और इसके अलावा जो fourth है that is fearful avoidant, इसको भी आप देख सकते हैं कि that person is high in anxiety and high in avoiding other people. Different kind of researches have been done on attachment styles. One research which was conducted by Clonan and Berra in 1998 that showed that securely attached report positive family relationships when they are young, while the insecurely attached rate their childhood family environment as emotionally cold and openly conflicted. ये देखा गया है कि जो बच्चे बचपन में जिनको एक्सपीरियंस होता है पॉजिटिव फैमिली रिलेशनशिप्स का, वो दे आर सिक्योरली अटैच्ड एज कम्पेयर टू दैट इनसिक्योरली अटैच्ड रिपोर्ट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स विद इन देयर फैमिली. और उसका रिजल्ट क्या होता है कि सिक्योरली अटैच्ड एडल्ट्स इजीली बिकम क्लोज टू अदर्स, एक्सपेक्ट इंटीमेट रिलेशनशिप्स टू एंड्योर, and they handle and develop relationship conflicts constructively. And that study was conducted by Morrison et al. In 1997. So you can see the positive and negative effects of attachment styles, which could be either insecure or secure. And another study which was conducted by Feeney in 2003 that showed that if securely attached are involved with insecure ones, there is prototype mismatch. अगर आप कपल्स बन जाएं, जैसे एक सिक्योरली अटैच है और दूसरा जो है वो इनसिक्योरली अटैच है, तो ये बाहर तो मिसमैच लगता है, बट इट हैज़ एन एडवांटेज बिकॉज द सिक्योरली अटैच्ड पर्सन's पॉजिटिव ट्रेट्स वुड हैव अ बफरिंग इफेक्ट ऑन द नेगेटिव ट्रेट्स ऑन द इनसिक्योर वंस. सो द सिक्योर पार्टनर कैन बफर द नेगेटिव इफेक्ट्स and may gradually change the insecure and make him change his feelings of intimacy and self-worth. So what happens with acceptance, with warmth and open-mindedness, a securely attached partner can induce the same feelings and attitude in the partner who is insecurely attached as a child. So the available research showed that how attachment styles which were developed during childhood could also influence adult relationships when a person grows up. So this was all about today's lecture. अब इसको review करते हैं कि what we have studied today. So we studied interpersonal attractions, other part, and that is intimate relationships. So the question was, what is intimacy? Intimacy is that when we are feeling attachment to another person, when we are sharing with the other person whatever is inside us, the innermost feelings of us, and sharing of them with another person. And then we also talked about different aspects of our self-concept that could be intertwined with another person who is intimate with us. And we found that when we are attached with one person, then his or her self-concepts becomes intermingled with the self-concept of us. So both में जो है वो distinction is blurred between self-concept of us and that person with whom we are attached. And we talked about several areas where research has shown that intimacy will be exhibited. What are these areas? These areas are self-schemas, the attribution process, resource allocation, communal versus exchange relationships, and transactive memory. The essence of all these areas and research was that when we are being close and intimate with a person, then we are sharing that person's resources, and it happens in the same way with the other person that he also shares with our resources. और उसके अलावा this also happens that how we respond and think about us, we think and respond toward the other person with whom we are intimate in the same way. And that actor-observer bias is no more there, because how we are responding to us, we will be attributing the causes of other person's behavior with whom we are intimate in the same way. Another important thing is that we do not understand and we do not consider this relationship on exchange basis. In fact, it is based on communal basis, that we try to do whatever our partner with whom we are intimate, we try to do whatever we can do for that person, और उसको हम ऐसे मैनेज नहीं करते इस रिलेशनशिप को जैसे हम अपना बैंक अकाउंट मैनेज करते हैं. And then we also talked about attachment as an adaptive process. Research has shown that there is a strong biological tendency that people are born with a desire for that attachment with their caregiver, and that is strongly manifested by theories, or that can be readily seen within few minutes of birth of a child. और उसके बाद हम कुछ दिनों के बाद देखते हैं कि ये attachment जो need है वो बच्चे में clearly that could be observed. And we also discussed that through that different kinds of attachments which could be secure or insecure, people will develop their adult relationships also. And it has been seen that people as a child could develop either secure or insecure relationships. And that research was conducted by Mary Ainsworth, who was a colleague of Bowlby, who was very much involved in the research on attachment styles. So Mary Ainsworth said that people could develop either secure or insecure attachment styles. And insecure attachment style will be developed when parents are inattentive to the needs of child. As compared to that, secure attachment style will be developed if parents are nurturing and they are attentive to child's psychological and physical needs. And then we also talked about other dimensions of research as far as attachment styles are concerned, and we talked about 4 attachment styles which are a combination of low and high self-esteem, and then trusting other people or not trusting them, and at the same time security and insecurity. So this was all about today's lecture. In the next lecture we will be talking about a few more dimensions of intimate relationships, and we will be also starting a new topic. Until the next lecture, Khuda Hafiz.